What's the difference? Well, if I'm a teacher, I can teach each of my students well, help each of them get on, learn the material, get on into the next class, and help each one get ahead. Or I can understand that the students are also a community of young people going through school together, and they also need skills to talk to each other across their differences. They need an understanding of the history of how people have gotten together. They need communications and problem-solving skills. They need to be able to talk about their common problems and identify what they want to work on and work out solutions. So in addition to teaching them how to get ahead, I can also teach them how to get together. If I'm operating a battered women's shelter, I could see each woman who comes in as in need of legal support and maybe a restraining order or child care or temporary shelter or long-term shelter. And I can see my job as helping each woman individually get ahead and on with their life out in the community. Or I can see that in addition to that, that she needs to get together with other women and talk about the commonalities of her situation and the history of the work against domestic violence and some skills for communication and problem solving across differences and things like that, organizing and activism skills, so that she leaves thinking of herself potentially, at least as a member of a battered women's movement. So it really makes a big difference how we do our work, whether we're leaving people getting on their own, getting ahead because they've been through some kind of successful encounter with us. But we know that even if our best efforts to give them services and help them get ahead, most of them are not going to get ahead because they get back out, they have no real resources. They're still going to be poor. They're still going to be less educated. They're still going to have less access to things. So even our getting ahead strategies are usually not very long-term effective already. But we need to think about, well, what would it mean to help the people that we're working with get together? And the first question that comes up as part of that is, what does it mean for us to get together? Because this isn't about some group of people out there. It's also that we're inside this pyramid and that we can't help anybody else get together unless we're part of getting together, unless we're doing that. Because otherwise we get isolated and marginalized and burned out and ineffective. So there's kind of two levels that getting together works on, us getting together and us helping, facilitating other people in the community getting together. So let's talk about what is getting together. What do people need to get together? When you think about people in the community here, what do people need to get together? Time. Okay. And what are things that help provide time for people? Communication. What else? Daycare, childcare. A lot of people can't get together and without childcare, so that's another piece of it. What else do people need? Just to be able to get together. Transportation, right? Safety. We need to create safe places. Because people have been hurt a lot, and they're not going to be able to get together unless they feel like it's going to be safe enough for them to actually begin to talk about what's really going on in their lives.
Well, I think this struck me today, is awareness of like-minded people. I mean, I don't know anyone in this community that thinks the way I do. I know there's millions of them, so how do you find out who these people are? I don't know what label you want to put on that. But.
Okay, finding each other. So that means either places or events or, classes, someplace where people can say, that sounds like something that I can connect to, and there's going to be other people there, which is why you're all in the room together today, right? How many of you would have been spending time together? It took somebody coming across the country to provide the excuse, really, for the community to come together, those of you who are like-minded enough to want to figure out how do we work for social justice more effectively here. So that's just an example of the kind of opportunity that can be created. And some of you are in positions in your jobs where you can provide opportunities for folks. What are some other things that people need to get together? Yeah.
Confidence that their voice is important.
Okay. And where does that come from? How would they know that?
How many people listen to them?
Uh-huh, right. Well, and also from knowing about the history of how people have come together. That in fact, we have a long history and people have come together and they've made change. They have really impacted this country. And so knowing, so the confidence comes from knowing that they're part of a history of people getting together. What else? What else do people need?
Energy.
Energy. And where does that come from?
Caffeine.
Well, some of it comes from the excitement of meeting others that are like-minded or who have common goals. The connection partly is what produces the energy, among other things.
But you have to have the energy to go out and make the initial connection as well.
Yeah, although my experience is that people are hungry for that connection, hungry for the opportunity to come and have these kinds of discussions. That level of energy is, they may have a lot of constraints at the same time, and fears and lack of transportation, childcare, lots of other things, but you get people in a room together to talk about this stuff, and we're all looking for a chance to do it because we're all buried inside this pyramid. Yeah.
A common focus.
Common focus. And often that comes out of our sharing our lives and our stories and realizing common focuses. It's not that we have such different needs, but we don't often sit down and talk to each other about what we're experiencing and sharing that and realize that, oh, well, I've got the same problem you do, or I can understand that. There's a hand over here.
Say, we need like a center or a place or a facility or something that
Okay.
just come and go.
Right, there needs to be a place.
Being divided.
That's really important, and a community center is great. I mean, but many of you have offices and buildings and places that people can come together. It doesn't need to be set up exclusively for that. It just needs to be a place that, at least temporarily, people can come to and meet at and start talking. So it's great when it's formal and it's ongoing and visible and people know that that's a place they can come, but many times we overlook other resources, other place resources that are available in the community. Yeah,
Positive input attitude.
positive input, say what you mean by that.
In other words, I would go to a group meeting of like-minded people, not to just hear complaints. I would like to hear positive solutions.
Okay.
Positive.
Okay, so solution focused. Now, sometimes it takes a while to get to solution focused, because when people come in with a lot of anger and pain and frustration, there needs to be time for them to be able to express that. And so we can't expect immediately to go to the solutions because we don't know what our common situations are. But at some point, it has to turn into, what are we going to do together? All of this is about ultimately doing something together, not just talking together. Yeah.
What about an emotional or physical connection to an issue or cause?
Okay. I mean, that's kind of a common focus, and it's kind of finding each other, but it's a connection to. And it's more likely, it usually starts with connection to other people than it does to an issue. And I think that that's where often we get really misled, is we start with an issue, we don't start with a relationship. And organizing comes out of relationship with people. Well, this is a great picture of what it takes, what people need to be able to get together. And what an ally does, and we'll talk much more about this this afternoon, is figure out, well, what resources do I have to help this process along? What is my role in this? Do I have a place or an organization, or can I take some leadership? Or do I have communication, access to communication? Do I know something about the history of people getting together? Can I provide that for folks?